Game-O-Holic here.
Playing these games and getting a migraine, turning them into dust like Thanos from Endgame. These games are so tough they can't be beat, but it's always entertaining, so have a seat. Screaming and yelling and flipping the bird, he's a Game-O-Holic, haven't you heard? He's got a controller in his hand, trying to get you to understand that these games cannot be beat. So sit back, relax, and grab a can of beer to drink with a friend while he yells at his screen. These games, they never end. The Game-O-Holic is really mean to these bad games. Watch your screen, you'll see what I mean.
And as always, this is where I belong. How's it going, everyone? Here we are again for another top 10 video. This challenge was issued out by Cy over at Which Way Games for the top 10 Nintendo games that do not feature Mario. Now, this challenge was issued a few months ago, and this is not meant to wean anybody away from any other games. This is just my personal opinion and all their personal opinions. But without further ado, let's get started. And this might shock some of yous. My number 10 is Donkey Kong Country. Released by Rare and Nintendo in 1994, Donkey Kong Country is a game where you play as Donkey and Diddy Kong. Their banana board is stolen by King K. Rool. And throughout this game, you are basically collecting bananas. You get your friends, like there's a rhino, the ostrich, the shark, the frog. Basically, it's more or less a collect-a-thon. I feel that, to its detriment, it's one of the greatest franchises out there. Side-scroller. There's been numerous hacks that have come out. There is also a whole bunch of reboots with Tropical Freeze, and then with Donkey Kong Country Returns. Donkey Kong Country is a great franchise, especially with the sequels 2 and 3. They are amazing. Definitely push the Super Nintendo to its limits. Coming in at number 9, a game that a lot of people would be surprised it would be on this list, or so low, or so high, or even at all. That game is Tetris. Created in 1984 by a Russian software engineer named Alexei Pazanov. This is a puzzle game that has caught the minds, ears of many for the last 35 years. Tetris is they call it the Soviet mind game. It is an outstanding puzzle game that went through a lot of controversy actually back in the day. Nintendo claimed to have the exclusive rights. Tengen also had claimed to have the exclusive rights. There was 2 versions that did come out back in the day. Tengen's only lasted a few weeks due to the fact that they apparently didn't own the copyright software for it, which Nintendo would jump in. Those copies of Tetris, the Tengen version on the NES, are worth a pretty penny, so if you happen to go to a flea market, a thrift store, a garage sale, and you find one, definitely pick it up. It is also the most top-selling game, period, of all time across all platforms, beating out Minecraft, Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, you name it. Coming in at number 8. Beautiful Joe. Beautiful Joe centers around a moviegoer named Joe who basically is watching a movie and is basically pulled into the movie that he's watching. He's thrust into movie land to save his girlfriend, Sylvia. It is a side-scrolling 2D experience made in a 3D graphical aspect. I haven't played a whole lot of it, which, you know, I just kind of know the story a little bit, but I've played through a little bit through the first Beautiful Joe. I own 2 Red Hot Rumble. It is an outstanding game that I do want to finally get to and beat. I really think Beautiful Joe is one of those characters that deserves to be in Super Smash, let alone have another sequel. It's been a long time since we've had a new Beautiful Joe game. And I think it's an experience that a lot of gamers would enjoy. Coming in at number 7. This is going to really bite people a little bit, but I really don't care. Number 7 is WWF No Mercy on the N64. Released in the year 2000, this game is highly regarded as the best wrestling game of all time. Yes, with an out-of-date roster currently, the game has an outstanding story mode, a championship mode. You could unlock legends. You can play a cage match. You could play a tag team match. They have a survival mode. The story mode can go 17 different ways. The Aki battle system that is the approach of the game. It is the most insanely competitive wrestling game I think I could say I've ever played. And this matches up along with WCW NWO Revenge, WCW World Tour, and I would also say WrestleMania 2000. Coming in at number 6, one of my favorite games to play on the Super Nintendo, Kirby's Dream Course. Released in 1995. Now, this is kind of like more so a party game. It is a golf-esque game that was released by HAL. To me, my opinion, it is a very fun game. This is a great game to play when you're drunk. I'm not gonna lie, it is a lot of fun. You battle through 7 or 8 different worlds in the game. Basically, you know, you're trying to get a hole-in-one all the time. You get different power-ups like the tornado, the rock, the spike. It is an amazingly fun game to play. It's 2 players also as well. It's just one of those games that it's very fun to pick up and play, and you fight King DDD at the end in like the golf-esque manner. It's really good. Coming in at number 5, I can already hear the glass being thrown at my door. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Super Nintendo. Now, the story behind this is of no surprise and should not shock anybody. Released in 1994, based off of the Japanese series Super Sentai. 5 Rangers are chosen for 5 teenagers, and basically to destroy Rita Repulsa, blah, blah, blah. You know all that. Now let's talk about the game. The game opening up with Rita Repulsa looking down on the Rangers. You select your Ranger, and then basically on top of all that, you're playing through different levels. As all the different Rangers, you get a special ability. It's your average 2D hack and slash, you know, from left to right. It gets a little monotonous, but everything else keeps you going. The different villains that are in the game, the music, you do get a Zord battle at the end. It is outstanding. I may be being biased about this, but this is one of those Power Ranger games that's a must own. Coming in at number 4, released in 1997 and re-released just this past year in 2020, Doom for the N64. Doom 64 is one of those outstandingly first-person shooter games. that almost any retro first-person player can get behind. So basically, as you're playing as the Doom guy, there is this basically big outbreak that happens, and you're basically trying to send messages back to Earth, basically saying, you know, there's going to be an attack, there's an attack where you're at now. I'm not too familiar with the in-depth story behind Doom 64, but honestly, you're not going to give a shit when you pick up the game and play it. It's one of the best first-person shooter games I have ever played, in my opinion. It ranks up there with, let's say, Resident Evil, Borderlands. The list goes on with first-person shooters and third-person shooters. I can't list them all. Duke Nukem. It's one of those games where you're going to get so entwined in the story. It's incredible. Coming in at number 3. Now, this is a big step away from all the games we were just talking about. Number 3 is Pokemon Snap for the N64. Released in 2000. It is a different step away from the RPG style that we're used to in all the older Pokemon and newer Pokemon games. You play as Todd, a photographer who's basically going around trying to take pictures of all the different Pokemon. You know, and you meet with Professor Oak, and you get items that you can use in the game. You're trying to snap basically the best picture. If you remember back in the day when the game first came out, there was kiosks in Blockbuster where you could print out your own pictures. It is a very great idea to get away from the Japanese role-playing style that we're used to with all the other Pokemon games. I've ranked this so high, personally for the sheer fact is I absolutely love going back and playing this game quite a few times a year. When friends come over, I play a little bit with them. It's an amazing experience for such a different style game. Now, number 2 is gonna kind of shock people a little bit, but I'm not doing it as one game. I'm doing it as the franchise. That is Castlevania. Castlevania is basically so high up on my list. It's one of those 2D side-scrollers that has been reinvented over the years. If you've played Lament of Innocence or Lords of Shadow, Castlevania, you take control of Simon Belmont, Richter Belmont, you're going through the castles, basically trying to kill Dracula. In one Castlevania game, you're trying to get Dracula, kill him after there was a nuclear eclipse in like Mars or the solar system or on the moon or some shit like that. I don't even remember, but it's a crazy in-depth story. If I had to pick one of the franchise as one of my favorite games to play, it would obviously be Symphony of the Night on the PlayStation, where you take control of Alucard and basically make your way through the castle. That would become the cemented part of Castlevania. Any game usually that took place afterwards, not until more recently, always took place in the castle. So Castlevania Symphony of the Night. If I had to pick a top 3 of just Castlevania, I would say Symphony of the Night, Dracula X Chronicles, and probably Lords of Shadow. Now, there's a lot of games I did not mention on this list, and I really don't want to do an honorable mention. So, what is number 1? Well, number 1 is one of the only franchises I haven't picked to talk about in this video. And more or less, there'd be so many other games to pick. Well, honestly, the game I've decided to pick is just one, and I feel it beats every other game of the franchise. The game I'm referring to is Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask for the N64. Released in 2000 on a nice little gold cartridge. Also, you needed the expansion pack to play the game. Takes place in Termina. Just after the events of Ocarina of Time, when you have killed Ganon, not as an adult, but when you go back the last 7 years. Haha. Thank you, Zelda Encyclopedia. Basically, you're playing as Link, who has curse put on him by the Skull Kid after he has acquired the Majora's Mask. With all that happening, basically, you are playing the game over a 3-day life cycle. The moon is about to crash down on you, and you're about to die. So you use the ocarina to basically slow down, speed up time. The whole point of the game is collecting masks. It sounds like a very short game. It kind of is if you don't do all the side quests. There's only about 4 big dungeons, and what's crazy about this game is it is the greatest Zelda game of all time. I will have that put on my headstone. I will take it to the grave, and I will be buried with it. I will argue this to the end of time that Majora's Mask is one of the most well thought out, most in-depth, creative ideas in the game's history. Period. I would love to see this game remade for the Switch. I absolutely loved playing it on the 3DS. And they need to go into this franchise more. Make Majora's Mask its own side game completely. Like, make 5 more games. I'd be okay with that. I want to thank you guys once again for watching this top 10 video. I want to thank Cy over at Which Way Games. I want to thank the Mcguiness Experiment. I want to thank JooceMeister, Vanilla Bizcotti, Leigh Stenhouse, anybody I've worked with, or anybody I have done collabs with or going to do collabs with in the future. Thank you guys once again. I keep making these videos because 14 of you guys keep watching them, and I will keep doing it as long as there's one of you watching. Once again, thank you. The Game-O-Holic here. This is where I belong.